I wanted to be able to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be at home with my son, and I wanted something flexible where nobody had to tell me when I was clocked in or how long I had to sit in front of my computer. I wanted something that I could build a life around and enjoy. And since we've managed to do that, we've taken months at a time to go travel, and I just pack up my laptop and take it with me. And it's fulfilling everything that I was looking for with a career. My son is still home with me full time. We do preschool every day with him. It's given me all the opportunities that I was looking and hoping for, and it's made a big difference.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Stay-at-Home Bookkeeper Academy podcast. We empower busy moms and aspiring entrepreneurs to start a thriving bookkeeping business from home with practical tips, expert interviews, and real-life success stories. All right, so we are getting started this morning here with Kelsey. Thank you so much for being on here, Kelsey.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to showcase your journey and talk about what everything's been like since you started your bookkeeping business. So I like to dive in at first just to find out what made you want to do this in the first place. What was kind of like your why in wanting to start a bookkeeping business?
It was kind of an interesting story. You know, I worked in restaurants for the last 15 years of my life. I've done everything in a restaurant. I've worked cooking on lines, bartending, hosting, bussing tables. I left the industry abruptly with no plan. And I had a 2.5-year-old at home with me full time. So I was just kind of looking for work from home opportunities. You know how you start scrolling, and I stumbled across your book. And I probably read through it 4 or 5 times before I really kind of looked further into it. And it just, something in the back of my mind told me this is where I needed to go. My mom kind of has a little experience in this field. It just seemed like it was put in front of me for a reason. And the timing of it just really spoke to me. So I dove in, I scheduled a call, and ended up in the academy where I was up studying. I was getting up at like 4:30 in the morning when my fiance is waking up to go to work.
Oh, wow.
And he had no idea what I was up to until a piece of mail showed up at our home with my LLC on it. And at that point, I had gone through 90% of the academy courses. I had gotten my QuickBooks certification, and I had people lined up that were looking for help.
Oh my gosh.
I told a single soul that was
Wow.
personal to me.
That is amazing.
It was, yeah, it was interesting.
So I know you said you were in the restaurant industry, but can you tell me a little bit more about your background or maybe prior bookkeeping experience? Did you have any of that prior to joining?
Slightly because, you know, when COVID hit, a lot of restaurants were shut down. I'm located in Maryland, so our things were shut down for long periods of time. My restaurant closed entirely, and we were all put in unemployment through pandemic relief and emergency relief fund efforts. But that runs out. The restaurant was opening for carryout, but that would require 2 members of front of house staff to be there a night, where we normally staffed 40 front of house members a night. So you weren't getting hours, we weren't getting paid. I ended up finding an opportunity to work for a very renowned plastic surgeon, and I became their finance manager. So I was helping people finance all their big surgeries. And I mean, big surgeries, dealing with the money. Once I read the book about bookkeeping, it sparked something in me like, wait a minute, this is kind of what I've been doing. I'm just matching numbers in my plastic surgeon's office. And I can tell you right now, I've replaced the pay that I was making with that surgeon. And I was working 40 hours a week for them, not spending any time with my son. Now I'm working a handful of hours a week. But that was really kind of like what connected the dots for me, was having been in that office and just working with those numbers and face to face with people. You don't get to hide from them. You got to talk money, you got to talk numbers, and you got to be able to communicate it well. And it just kind of seemed to fit the pieces of the puzzle I was looking at.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, you realized in having that experience that you could translate even just those number, organization, customer service skills right over into being your own business owner in the bookkeeping space.
Absolutely. It just flowed really well together.
Awesome. I love that. So what was your journey like once you decided to enroll and you started your LLC? What did all of that look like as far as getting started and then getting clients, and lead me to where you are now?
It was a roller coaster. I wouldn't have changed the process. I was able to get a client of my own through my business within the first 3 months of being up and running. He was a smaller contractor, local to myself. I knew him personally. He was a mess. He was severely undercharged for what he required. He really put me through the ringer. I can't tell you how many times he showed up on my doorstep with boxes of paper receipts.
Oh my gosh.
Personal accounts and business accounts were commingled and paper receipts everywhere. And it was very testing. And I was undercharging him for what I was doing. But I saw him as a friend who was starting this new business venture for himself. And I wanted to be there to watch the two of us grow together.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was dealing with him, I happened to find somebody who was looking for a contractor. She has her own bookkeeping business. She needed just a little bit of help. She needed to contract out some work. And I connected with her. I interviewed. I think she said originally she had told me she interviewed 4 people total. And I had the least experience, but was the easiest to just chit chat with and the most willing to dive into whatever she threw at me. So I started doing contract work for her. I am still working for her. It's been over a year and a half now. However, now I'm a part-time employee of hers while I run my own business. There was some liability things that we kind of started running into that we just wanted to be on the safe side. So I transitioned to a part-time employee.
Okay.
But I have learned a lot from her. I've been able to get my hand in all kinds of industries. I've worked with fitness centers, cryptocurrency clients, marketing clients, online coaches, and that's all because of her clients and what I've been able to learn from them. During the transition from when I was becoming one of her contractors to an employee, I stumbled across another bookkeeping company who was looking to contract out some work and was able to get my foot in the door with them as well. So I not only had my own clients, I was contracted through a bookkeeper and was working part-time for another bookkeeper. So I keep myself busy, but not to the point where I'm busy. Yeah. I do my projects here and there as they come along, and I do my work, I get it done, and then I go outside and play with my son. In the past, it's been a year, my business is a year and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
I've grown. I have a handful of clients, plus the other 2 side jobs, side gigs, I guess. I've replaced all the money that I used to make bartending full-time while I was working full-time for the plastic surgeon. And it's some days are better than others. You always get a gut punch now and then. Just yesterday, I had a client email me that they are going to move their bookkeeping back in-house because his son feels that he's equipped to take it over. That's part of my monthly revenue, and it's a bit of a gut punch, and you want to take it personally, but you have to step back sometimes and see the bigger picture. He's growing his business with his son, and that's awesome for them. Yeah. And I've gotten that experience, and they left with great things to say about me. They're not leaving because I did anything wrong or they didn't like me. There's nothing that I can take personally about that. Yeah. So right after I got that email, I got another email for a new client meeting. So you take the punches, the wins and the losses, all they mesh. And some days you feel like you're just real down on this roller coaster, and the next day you feel like you're up through the air. And as crazy as it's been and as unconventional as the journey's been, working for so many different people and having my hand in so many different pots as I've grown and learned, it has been the best experience that I could have asked for. And it's because I've gotten to work with clients that I wouldn't have worked with necessarily through my own business. And it's given me more opportunity to learn so many more industries and expand my knowledge.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. Yeah, that kind of leads me into the next question that I have for you is, in addition to learning the bookkeeping and learning all these different industries and, getting this exposure, which is really cool, what other skills have you also developed since becoming a business owner? Just like confidence, organization, like different things like that. What do you think?
You really just took the words out of my mouth, because those are the two that I have grown. I having come through from the industries and the places that I've been in the past, I have the customer experience. I'm not afraid of people. I can talk and chit chat with anybody I meet. Organizing myself and keeping set time frames is never something I was good at. I was a fly by the seat of my pants kind of girl. Now I have everything on a paper schedule, an electronic schedule, in my phone schedule. I am organized to the T. I know exactly when I can turn my laptop off in the mornings and my son and I can go play. And my confidence with what I'm doing, I guess, just having said, like, the client that is discontinuing services, that should be, it felt like a gut punch. And I had to remind myself so many times, he's not unhappy with me. I did nothing wrong. And a year ago, had that client walked away from me, I would have taken it personally and I would be questioning everything that I'm doing right now. And I wouldn't have the confidence to say, I know I did my job well. I know he appreciated the work that I did, and I can still move forward, because when one client leaves, another one is right there to come in.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really great lesson. It's a really great lesson to have learned that you have a valuable skill, a valuable service, and it's okay if not everybody wants to take advantage of that, because there's so many other people that are right there, ready and waiting.
Absolutely.
I love that. So what about your mindset? How has working on your mindset helped you in your business, and maybe how has it impacted you in your personal life?
I started mindset work, I guess, before I even launched my business. When I was taking the courses and doing the QuickBooks certifications, and I was getting up in those early hours and doing it, and I hadn't told anybody what I was doing. And that really came from a place where so much of my life, if I told anybody, oh, I want to go try this, I was told, you're never going to be able to do that. And I didn't want to hear that. And so that mindset work really, really started before the business even was born. And even now, I don't talk about my business to too many people that I know personally. My fiance is a huge supporter. He's my biggest cheerleader. He always has my back. But most of the other people that I have personal relationships with are just kind of Debbie Downers or naysayers. And I don't have time to hear their opinions of what they think I'm capable of, because I know what I'm capable of. I've already proven it to myself. And if they don't want to open their eyes and see that, it's their loss. It's not my loss.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I mean, and you've been able to like step into that power and feel like confident with just saying, hey, you have your own opinion. And then it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to do me and I'm going to move forward. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a lot of growth for me. It was, and it, you still have the days where you wake up and you're like, what the heck am I doing? Or I don't know how to solve this problem, but you kind of just got to take a step away, take a breath, and come back to it with some fresh eyes and talk to yourself nicely. The nicer you are to yourself, the easier it'll be to see the problems to solve and find the solutions there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Great lesson. I love how much personal development comes in when you start a business. You don't realize that's going to happen, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah, it really is.
And do you feel like, I always thought this about myself, but do you feel that becoming a business owner and kind of learning these new things has also helped you become a better mom?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have to give myself grace, and I have to be patient with myself, and I have to give myself time and work out problems and understand them. And that reflects in the way that I help my son learn his letters and sound out his words, and the amount of grace and patience that I have, that the time is now there.
Mm-hmm.
I have it to sit there, and we work through things slowly, patiently, and nicely to one another. And there's no, we're running out of time, we're frantic kind of motions anymore, because I've made that time available and I've learned how to absorb all of it and make the most out of it. And I've really passed that on to my son, where I'll see him start to get frustrated with something that he's doing, even if he's doing it by himself. And I'll see him go, take a breath. Okay, I'm going to try my best. And then he will. And just to see that reflection in him, and that I'm helping him to learn those things, it's humbling, if anything else.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. That's awesome. So, people always ask me, what is the opportunity here? How much money can you make when you have a bookkeeping business? So I'd love to kind of dive in a little bit. And if you don't mind sharing, some of the earnings that you've made over the last couple of years.
I currently am making more money now than I was when I was working 40 hours a week for a very well-known plastic surgeon. And I was working, in addition to those 40 hours there, I was doing 30 hours at a restaurant where I was bartending. On average bartending, I'd make $300 to $500 a night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm clearing about $5,500 right now, which is more than I made between those two jobs. I'm a kind of minimal person. We don't do big or fancy. We own a small home. We've paid off all our debts. We don't do extravagance unless it's a travel or a vacation. And that money, it may not seem like much to some people, but it was life-changing for me. It really was. And it's comforting and to know that it's there. And even if I do lose a client that's $1,000 a month, I have two coming on that are going to replace him, and they're going to be smaller and simpler. And I'll probably cut my time in half and still replace the income.
Yeah.
So it was hard getting here. And that's how I ended up doing contracting work and becoming part-time with one company. But, you still have to get it done. You still have to pay the bills, even if they are small. You still have to have the emergency fund in case there's an accident or, God forbid, somebody ends up in the hospital. But because I took all of those opportunities as they were presented to me, I've made it comfortable now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. And then you've got flexibility with your finances, and you don't have to stress or worry. Yeah, that's great.
We've paid off everything. Our vehicles are all paid off. Our credit cards are paid off. We spend our money as we want, and we save what we want, and we use it when we want. And we're leaving for vacation Friday. What is today? Wednesday. So we're leaving in 2 days, and we're going on a 10-day vacation.
Nice.
To North Carolina, just because we can.
Awesome.
Why not?
I love that. And you feel like your bookkeeping business has had like a direct result on this financial situation and paying off debt and going on the vacation?
100%. 100%. It was doable back when I was working two jobs, but as a young parent, you're working full-time, your partner's working full-time, you're paying for daycare. Half of my salary was going directly to daycare. The other half of my work, the other 30 hours a week that I was working, I was relying on grandparents or my partner, and sometimes shelling out money just for those shifts as well. So it was really kind of a catch-22 we were stuck in. You go to work to pay for childcare, but you pay for childcare just to go to work. And they almost cancel each other out at the end of the day. It's a carousel that you don't want to be on, and you can't really figure out a way off.
Yeah, I know. That is definitely the reason I started too. With my third child was born, and half of my paycheck was going to pay for someone to watch her, and it didn't make any sense.
And then you miss out on that time and those memories and those experiences that you want to have with the child. I don't want my child to go to daycare for somebody to send me a picture and say, oh, he took his first steps today. That was not the life I wanted for my son and I. And I thankfully was able to capture all of his first. I still am capturing his first. I'm watching him read, I'm watching him write, and I'm the one teaching him those things. And I'm the one watching him sound out words for the first time. And nobody else is doing that. That's me, because I'm getting up, I'm making my money before his eyes are even open in the morning, and I get to spend all day with him.
That is fantastic. Oh, I love that. I'm so happy for you. I wish I could.
It's been very cool.
That is awesome. So, can you share a few tips on how you have found clients and what marketing avenues have been the most advantageous for you?
Facebook has done me the most. And I have a business page on my Facebook, but honestly, my personal page seems to attract more people. I'll share my business page on my personal page from time to time, but occasionally I'll just be like, hey, I just helped a bookkeeping client, just kind of sharing a brief story, or, oh, please don't bring me a box of receipts like this. If this is what your bookkeeping looks like, you really need to get some help. Let's chat. Besides Facebook, it's face-to-face interactions with people that I meet when I'm out. I end up at a restaurant and I'm chit-chatting with somebody and they're like, oh, my brother owns business and his wife doesn't know what she's doing. And next thing I know, I've got a server giving me his brother's phone number because they want to call me. And it's just be fearless about it, because nobody else is going to pay your bills for you. You've got to figure that out. So if you're afraid of what other people are saying and you're holding back, or you're thinking they don't think I know what I'm doing, that's what they're going to perceive. You just got to be fearless about it. Me speaking with my neighbor the other day, I just found out that they just acquired the Chick-fil-A up the street and they need help with their books. They didn't know I owned a bookkeeping company. It was probably the third time her and I even had a conversation. But now she's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to send my husband over to speak with you when you guys get home from vacation.
Nice.
Just from a happy conversation while we were watching our kids run around. You never know the connections that people have or what they're doing, just like they don't know what you're doing. So you can't rely on people to know who you are or what you've got to offer without putting it out there and doing it fearlessly.
Yeah, I love that. Fearlessly. Yeah. I mean, because everybody's scared about doing this. Everybody is. I mean, I'm even scared about doing marketing sometimes too, but you just have to make yourself do it and just get out there anyway. So great advice. Great advice.
Thank you.
If someone's watching this and they're considering going down this path and starting a bookkeeping business, what would you tell them?
You can't do it halfway. You have to tune into the classes. You have to do the QuickBooks modules. You have to get the certifications, and you have to go back and review. You can't work on it for a week and then put it down for 2 weeks and expect to remember it. You continuously have to work on your knowledge. Nobody's going to put it in your brain for you but you. And if you're not giving yourself every opportunity to soak in that knowledge, you're missing out. And it's only going to get easier the more you tune in and the more you sit down and do the work.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. I love that. So if someone's watching this, maybe they're a business owner and they don't want to have their own bookkeeping business, but they want help with their books. What type of clients do you typically like working with the most if they wanted to reach out to you? Who would that be?
Initially, I kind of niched down to contractors in the construction industry. All of the men in my life are welders, steam fitters, pipe fitters. So that's what I've grown up around. Just recently, I have started rebranding my website a bit. I'm going to de-niche and kind of open myself up to a lot of industries. Because I've been able, through the contractors that I work for, I've been able to get my hands in so many different industries. I've worked with marketing, I've worked with gyms and fitness centers, I've worked with online coaches, photographers, a research and review kind of, I don't even know how to describe their business, but I've had my hands all the way in it. And I've learned so much about so many different industries that I don't think there's really an industry I would look. No, that's not true. I I would not look at a crypto industry again because
Yeah.
that's a whole nother monster. But I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I kind of feel like I don't want to narrow myself down to just one specific client because I kind of like having something different to look at throughout the days. It breaks it up a bit for me, and it makes it more fun. And I'm confident with the skills needed to work in a multitude of industries at this point. And I'm glad that I've taken the chance and gotten to learn those.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, is there anything else that you would like to leave us with?
Sometimes we just don't think that we're capable, but we really are capable of a lot more than we give ourselves credit for.
Mm-hmm.
A year and a half ago, if you had told me that this is where I would be today, I would have just laughed and like rolled my eyes like, yeah, pipe dream. But here I am doing it. It hasn't taken me any more work than I was already doing in my past careers. It's less. I sit down and I put the time in just like I would if I were clocked in an office somewhere. And I think that's like the hardest part. It's just having that discipline to put yourself in kind of an office setting, especially when you're at home and you've got your children climbing on you for the first time. But you find a way. Like I said, I started getting up with my fiance at 4:30 in the morning, and I was working quietly before my son was awake. My fiance had left for work. He didn't know what I was doing. By the time my son was up, I had accomplished everything for the day. I was proud of the work that I had done, even if it was just 3-4 hours. Just staying hyper focused and putting in that work. That's what made the difference. I didn't put it down. I didn't put it on the back burner, and I didn't let myself beat myself up if I made a mistake or I lost a client. I couldn't beat myself up. You can't take it personally. Yeah. Everybody else is running a business just like you. And at the end of the day, they're going to do what's best for their business, just like you need to do what's best for yours.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Such great advice. Thank you so much for sharing all of your tidbits of advice and your journey. This is going to be really inspiring to those that are watching. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad you had me, and I'm glad that I got to share my story. And not everybody's looks the same. And, there was a lot of people that were coming into the academy right around me or right after me. And I would see them, oh, I signed a client, I did this. You can't compare yourselves to them. You just can't. Yeah, you can't. And the more you let that happen, the harder it's going to be to just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. It was a pleasure talking to you.
You too.
You have a good one.
You too.